Alright, what's going on, guys? So the Berserk Memorial Edition is officially out. Well, episode 1 is officially out. They're gonna come in installments on a weekly basis, so we'll get about 25 minutes here and there of, the first 3 movies split up into episodes. Now, according to the announcement, we will be receiving some new material. However, it hasn't been specified how much new material we'll be getting, when it will be occurring, what it's gonna include, if it's just gonna be a couple extra scenes here and there, or if they're going to expand upon things, so it's hard to say at this moment. But given the recent news that there's going to be this big announcement in December, I believe it's going to be December 11th according to this time clock right here, there's always that possibility that, maybe after the movies are done, there's going to be an announcement that they're going to continue the series possibly. Maybe they're going to do the Black Swordsman arc, then go into Conviction, possibly Lost Children, so who knows? I mean, that's very optimistic, but let's not get our hopes up. Just like the New Beginning a couple years ago, it might just be a Berserk exhibition again, so you never know. Now, this first installment was relatively the same as the first 25 minutes of the first movie. All the scenes were the same. I watched both side by side just to see if there were any differences. I tried to see if the animation was a little bit touched up, maybe a little more vibrant, maybe a little more gritty. I tried to look for any differences whatsoever. And after 25 minutes, I came to the conclusion that there was nothing different. We had the battle with Bazuzo, then we had the fight with Guts and the Band of the Hawk. Griffith took him down. Guts had the little dream sequence where he thought of Gambino, Donovan, and how he left the mercenary band that took care of him when he was younger. And then, we had the scene with Casca where he woke up. He then had his duel with Griffith, and then Griffith claimed him as his own. Nothing was new, nothing was added, nothing was subtracted, and as far as I can tell, nothing in the animation department was changed. However, there was one big change in this episode that I feel improved upon it greatly, and that was the subtitles. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, this might be relatively trivial. I mean, how much could they have changed? Well, watching it side by side and quickly reading each side of the screen, there was some pretty noticeable and big changes. Now, in terms of the context of the situations themselves, the outcomes didn't change. It's not like they said something so drastically different that you would interpret that situation differently. However, the way things were said were more elegant in the Memorial Edition, and they felt like they were closer to Kentaro Miura's writing as opposed to the original movie. Now, from what I could glean by just quickly reading back and forth, the original movie was a bit rougher with its translations. The dialogue almost felt like an action movie. It felt a little more punchy, a little more edgy, if you will. Whereas this time around with the Memorial Edition, things felt a little more elegant. They felt a little more refined, Miura-esque, if you will. And in fact, I picked out 3 examples to show you exactly what I mean. Now, the first one we got here is Guts telling Griffith off. Now, in the original version, he says, "Make me your soldier or your playboy, it doesn't matter." And in the Memorial Edition, he says, "Then make me your soldier, your butt buddy, whatever." Now, the reason I don't like the original version, the 2012 version, is because the word playboy doesn't make sense within the context of medieval Europe. That's a term that was invented in the 20th century. I mean, there was no such thing as a playboy prior to that. So why would Guts use that term? Like, we know what it means by our standards, by what's gone on in the 20th and 21st century, but in the 14th, 15th, 16th century, that term had no meaning. So it makes no sense in that situation. Okay, so in the next situation we have is Griffith has Guts pinned down on the ground and he's ready to dislocate his shoulder. Now, in the original version, he says, "Or would you like me to dislocate your shoulder?" in the form of a question. But in the new version, he says, "But this is the end now. Either admit you lost or get ready for a dislocated shoulder." Now, the reason I like the new version is because it's not a question. He's directly telling him what he's gonna do. He's being direct, he's being assertive, and he's being confident. the fact that he's asking a question in the 2012 version kind of makes it seem a little wishy-washy to me. It kind of loses a little bit of its power, and it doesn't seem like he's as confident in the newer version. So again, he's saying the same thing, but the way in which he's saying it makes more sense in the newer version. And then the final scene that we have here is after Griffith wins the battle, he grabs Guts, and in the original version, he says, "You're mine now." Whereas in the newer version, he says, "And now you belong to me." Now, this one's actually pretty obvious because if you go to the manga, verbatim, Griffith says, "Now you belong to me." So the "you're mine now" isn't consistent with what Mira wrote, and it just doesn't sound as elegant. It doesn't have that same punch, like, "you're mine now," like the "you belong to me," like almost has that sense of like Griffith has ownership over him. Something about "you belong to me" just has a lot more power and weight to it. I know these might seem like trivial differences, but I think the new subs are quite a bit different and quite a bit better than the original version. So I'm actually very pleased about that. So hopefully in the next episode, guys, we'll get some new scenes. If we don't, I'll still make a video and tell you what changed. I'm sure the subs will be different for that episode as well. So tell me what you guys think of the episodes, and I'll catch you on the flip side.